Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as you can see here, that basically in this particular lecture we are going to start with the first in India. Okay, this is going to be a topic for this particular lecture. Before starting with, let me tell you one thing, that basically first in India is actually the static part of the general awareness topic of various competitive exams. Alright, the questions generally asked from here directly in the examination section, and the questions which asked from here, mostly of them are the static. It means no theoretical, just one-to-one and point-to-point questions and answers would be there. Like who was the first Solicitor General of India? The pointed question. Then the answer will be the pointed. Whosoever, Mr. XYZ was there, so XYZ would be the answer. So that's what I'm trying to say. First in India is the static part. Okay. And basically, in this first in India, we will cover this from two aspects. Like first in India, we will cover it from the male personalities, like whosoever the males of India, first in time. Second one, first in India, female category. Okay. At last, we will have the discussion over the summary of all of these, the first of India male and first in India female. Then we have the summary. Okay. But before starting that, as usual, we have a small disclaimer here, and the disclaimer is required to be understood by us. The images used in a slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this tag and you have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. Now, after understanding the disclaimer, now let's begin with the first. So here you can say first in India, male. Like whosoever would be the male in India and they got the first position in their own field. So, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the first president of India in office from 1950 to 1962. Like we know, India was under the British control and in 1947 we got the independence. When we got the independence, we took almost 2 years. Till 1949, we drafted our own constitution to run our independent country, and 1950 was the year when we implemented it, specifically on 26 January 1950. So when we implemented it, we had created the two positions, the head of the state or the head of the nation. Second one was the head of the government. Head of the state, head of the nation would be the president of India, and head of the government will be the prime minister of India. Okay. So Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the first president of India. It means he was the first head of the country. Second one was the Jawaharlal Nehru. He was actually the first prime minister of India. So now you could say he was the first head of the government. The first government that we had in our country, or we could say in the independent India, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first prime minister of that particular government, and he was the first head of the government also. Second one was the Lord Louis Mountbatten. He was the first Governor General of independent India 1947 to 1948. And the second one was the Chakravarti Rajgopalachari. He was the first Indian Governor General of the country. Now most of us get confused between them. If we got independence in 1947, how could be the Louis Mountbatten Governor General of India? Second one, Chakravarti Rajgopalachari. How he could be the first Indian Governor General of the country? So let us understand this thing. As I have told you, when we got independence in 1947, basically we did not have any rule book, any constitution on that time, so that we could run our government. Okay, so we had to rely on the British system that we had previously in order to govern our country till we drafted our own method of governance. It means our own constitution. Okay, so 1947 was the year when India got independent, and on that time, Lord Louis Mountbatten, who was previously the Viceroy of the country, he got to know as the first Governor General of independent India because we already got an independence. Okay. He served from 1947 till 1948. In 1948, Lord Louis Mountbatten actually got replaced with C. Rajgopalachari, or also we call him as a Chakravarti Rajgopalachari. Okay. So C. Rajgopalachari, after Louis Mountbatten, appointed as the new Governor General of the country. But because he was an Indian, so that's why it is written as first Indian Governor General of the country. So Louis Mountbatten was not the first Governor General of India, but he was the first Governor General of independent India. C. Rajgopalachari also was not the first Indian Governor General of the country, but he was the Governor General of the country who was the Indian. He was the first Indian to got elected to this position. Okay, till the time 1950 when we implemented our constitution, and then we officially created a post of head of the state or head of the country. That will be the Prime President of India, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the first to got this position. Then we have Kodandera Madappa Karippa, KM Karippa. He was the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of India. Prior to the independence, basically the Commander-in-Chief position and the Viceroy or Governor-General position was under the control of British. When we got independence, then we shifted our Governor-General position to the Indian person, C. Rajgopalachari. Similarly, the Commander-in-Chief position got shifted to the KM Karippa or Kondera Madappa Karippa. Okay, who got elected as the first Commander of Chief of India, and he was the Indian also. Then we have Sam Hormuschi Fremji Jamshedji Manekshaw, which is also known as HFJ Manekshaw, and famously he is known as Sam Manekshaw. He was the first Indian Army officer to be promoted to the rank of Field Marshal. Okay, so remember the first Indian Commander in Chief was KM Karippa, and first Indian Field Marshal was Sam Manekshaw or Sam Hormuschi Fremji Jamshedji Manekshaw. Okay, and remember he was also the army chief of famous battle during the 1971, when we know the East Pakistan, that was previously known as the Bangladesh, that got separated from the country of Pakistan and established as a new independent country of Bangladesh. Then we have Ganesh Vasudev Malvankar or G.V. Malvankar. He was the first speaker of the Lok Sabha. Alright. Then we have Sarvepalli Radhakrishna. He was the first vice president of India. And he was also the first chairman of Rajya Sabha. How? Like we know, and if we don't, then let me tell you. Basically, in India, whosoever will be the vice president, he or she will be automatically a chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, if Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan or S. Radhakrishnan, he was the first vice president of India, according to the constitution, he will be automatically the first chairman of Rajya Sabha also. Okay, so that's how the things works. Then we have Vallabhbhai Jhaverbhai Patel. Vallabhbhai Jhaverbhai Patel, who is also known as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He is India's first Home Minister and also the first Deputy Prime Minister. Okay. Then Dr. R.K. Shankarmukham Chetty. He was an Indian lawyer, economist and politician who served as the independent India's first finance minister from 1947 to 1949. Alright. It means when the constitution did not implement it during this time, basically the post of finance minister holding by him, Sir R.K. Shankarmukham Chetty. Okay. Who was a lawyer, who was an economist and also the famous politician. V. Narahari Rao. V. Narahari Rao served as the first Comptroller and Auditor General of India from 1948 to 1954. Like we know, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, in short known as CAG, it is actually a office that is constituted by the Constitution of India itself. under the Article 148. Okay. So basically, sorry, under the Article, yes, 148. So basically, we could say the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. This is actually the position that required to audit the accounts of central government as well as the state government, the revenue and expenditure amount, so that the financial responsibility of the government could be settled. Okay. So V. Narahari Rao was the first person to get elected to this office of CAG. Okay. And because the tenure of serving in the office of CAG is for 6 years, so he served from 1948 to 1984. Tenure of 6 years. Then we know Dharmanath Kohli, Dharmanath Prasad Kohli actually, who is also known as DP Kohli. He was the founder director of CBI, India's Central Investigation Agency. He held office from 1st April 1963 to 31st May 1960. Now, here is the one thing that is to be recalled here. And what is that thing? Basically, the CBI or the Central Bureau of Investigation that actually got established in 1963. But the provisions, the act from which the CBI derives its power, that were not introduced in 1963. That were introduced already in 1942. Like in the 1942, when the British rule was in India, during that time, the Britishers introduced the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, okay, to granting some special powers to the police forces. And this particular act further modified into some new category, and then on recommendation of Sanatham Committee, okay, in 1963, the CBI got formed, and the CBI had given a stature and the legislature of the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Okay, so the SPE, Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, actually got passed in 1942, from where the CBI derived its power. But CBI as an organization got established in 1963. Then we have Sir Osborne Arkell Smith, first governor of the Reserve Bank of India, a post he held from 1st April 1935 to 30 June 1937. So the Reserve Bank of India was established by the Britishers after passing the RBI Act 1934. And as per the Act, on 1st April 1935, the Reserve Bank of India got established in the country. And Sir Osborne Arkell Smith, who was the British, he appointed as the first governor of the Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank of the country and responsible to handle the monetary and currency system. Then Morarji Desai. He was the first non-Congress Prime Minister of India. Like when we got independence, for a long duration, we got the mostly ministers and prime ministers from the INC, the Indian National Congress Party. Okay. Morarji Desai was the first one who was a non-Congress Prime Minister of the India. And basically, we could say he break the chain. Then we have Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of Bengal. In 1773, Britishers passed the Regulating Act on the recommendations of British Prime Minister Lord North. And when the Regulation Act was passed, the new position of Governor General of Bengal got created. And as per the new position, Lord Warren Hastings was appointed as the first Governor General of Bengal. Then we have Rakesh Sharma. He was an officer of Indian Air Force and he was the first Indian to go to the space. Then we have Satyendranath Tagore. He was the first Indian to join the Indian Civil Services, ICS. So ICS, or we can say the Indian Civil Services actually, the foundation of this civil services got established by Lord Cornwallis. Okay. He introduces the two forms of civil services in India, covenanted and uncovenanted. The covenanted one for the higher post and reserved for the Britishers only. Uncovenanted for lower post, Indians were allowed to that particular class. Okay. Satyendranath Tagore later on became the first one to joined the Indian Civil Services. Okay, he was the first person. Then we have Mihir Singh. Mihir Singh actually was a long distance swimmer and he was well known for his being the first Indian to conquer the English Channel from Dover Strait to the Kelasi Strait in 1858. Sorry, 1958, not 1858. Then Acharya Vinoba Bhave. He was the first Indian to win Raman Magsaysay Award. Then Rabindranath Tagore, first Indian to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. C.V. Raman, first Indian to win the Nobel Prize in Physics. And the birth date of C.V. Raman is celebrated as the Science Day in the country, National Science Day. Then Vomesh Chandra Banerjee or W.C. Banerjee, he was the first president of Indian National Congress. The INC or the Indian National Congress actually formulated during the 19th century. Okay, and basically it was formulated at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College. And when this party formulated, the first president of that party was W.C. Banerjee, and who was the first secretary? A.O. Hume. He was the British civil servant and he was the first secretary of the INC. Then Sukumar Singh. He was an Indian civil servant who was the first Chief Election Commissioner of India, serving from 21st March 1950 to 19 December 1958. Like we know, the Election Commission of India is in charge of conducting the elections to the Parliament, to the state legislature, to the office of President and Vice President. And the first Chief Election Commissioner of that particular organization was Sukumar Sen, who was previously an Indian civil servant during the British time. After independence, he was uplifted to that post of CEC. Okay. If we're talking about the CEC, so let me tell you one thing in a straightforward manner. When the Election Commission got established, actually that was a single person body. It means only the one person would be there. Later on in 1989, basically that could became the multi-person body. It means three positions were there. The first position was Chief Election Commissioner. Other ones were the election commissioners. Okay. So now it is the multi-member body. When it got established, it was a single person body. Then we have Justice Dr. Nagendra Singh, first Indian chairman in the International Court. Okay. Then Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, he was the first foreigner awardee of Bharat Ratna. Remember Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was also known as the Frontier Gandhi. Okay, he was based in the northwestern province of the country during the British time, which is now known as the Pakistan. After independence, he moved to the Pakistan, but his contribution that he had given during the independence movements, that's why he was awarded with the Bharat Ratna. Okay, and on that time he had become the citizen of the Pakistan, so that's why he is regarded as the first foreigner awardee. Okay, then we have Dr. Syed Zahob Qasim, first leader of the Indian Antarctic Mission. Lal Bahadur Shastri became the first individual to be honored Bharat Ratna awardee posthumously. Okay, like posthumously means when the person is not alive. So he was the first Indian to got Bharat Ratna when he got died. Then G. Shankar Kurup, he was the first winner of the Janani Path Award, which is the India's highest literary award. He won the prize in 1965 for his collection of poems in Malayalam language. The name of the collections were Udakuzul. Okay. For this Udakulu composition, he got awarded with the Jananipath Award. Then Dr. V. Venugopal. He was the first head of the Cardiothoracic Center in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS. He leads a team of doctors in carrying out the first successful heart transplant in the country. Devi Ram, first Indian heart transplant patient of India. Okay. Dr. Venugopal was the first leader of the heart transplant team, and Devi Ram was the first patient of India to get the heart transplant. Then Justice Raghunath Mishra, first in chairman of the National Human Rights Commission of India, NHRC. The NHRC was established in 1993 in order to protect the human rights and conduct the inquiry to resolve the cases and disputes of the human rights. So he was the first chairman of the NHRC. Then we have Dadabhai Nauroji. He was also known by his nickname of Grand Old Man of India. He campaigned for Indian causes and was the first Indian member of parliament elected to the UK House of Commons. Okay. House of Commons is the lower house of UK parliament, and he became the first Indian member of the parliament who got elected to the UK House of Commons. Okay. And he was the first person who gave the theory of drain of wealth. Then Robert Clive was the first one to get assigned to the post of Governor of Bengal. Okay, he was the first Governor of Bengal. And remember, he was not the first Governor General. The Governor General position was created later in 1773. Prior to this, Governor of Bengal position was created, and Robert Clive was the first person to get elected to that position. And Warren Hastings was the first person who got elected to the position of Governor General of Bengal. Then we have James Augustus Hickey, or J.A. Hickey. He was an Irishman who launched the first printed newspaper in Asia, that was the Bengal Gazette. Then we have Major Somnath Sharma. He was the first recipient of Paramveer Chakra, which is the India's highest military decoration. Fine. He was actually the Chinese traveler and pilgrim. He was the first Chinese pilgrim to visit the India. Then Agni. Agni was the first medium-range missile. Then Prithvi. It was India's first missile. Then Tarapur. Tarapur is actually the first nuclear center in India. Then Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar Open University. It is the first open university in India where the students could take the admissions directly. Then we have P.V. Narasimha Rao. He was the first first Lok Sabha member to get elected with the record maximum numbers of votes. Okay, which means Narasimha Rao actually was the first MP of Lok Sabha who got the maximum number of votes, and that was the record actually. Then we have Hawkins or Captain Hawkins. He was the first Britisher to visit the India, and he was the representative of British East India Company. Then first Asian Games that got organized in New Delhi. Sukumar Sen, as we have told, he was the Indian civil servant who was actually the first election commissioner of India. Then Sherpa Foodorji was the first Indian to summit Mount Everest without oxygen. Dr. Amartya Sen, first Indian recipient of Nobel Prize in Economics. J.R.D. Tata was the first Indian pilot. Lieutenant Ramcharan, he was the first Indian to reach the Antarctica. Morarji Desai was the first Indian Prime Minister to resign from the office. Then Dr. Zakir Hussain was the first President of India to die in the office. Nawang Gompu, not doctor. He was the first man to climb the Mount Everest twice. Colonel I.K. Bajaj, first Indian to reach the South Pole. Bhanu Athaiya was the first Indian recipient of Oscar Award. Dwight David Eisenhower, first American president to visit the India. Harold Macmillan, first British Prime Minister to visit India. Ruskin Bond, first Indian author to get the Anderson Award. Wilson Jones, first Indian to win the World's Villas Trophy. Santosh George, first Indian space tourist. K.D. Jadhav, who had created the history by winning a bronze medal in wrestling at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki, capital of Finland. Then Kumar Ram Narayan Karthikeyan, racing driver who was the first Formula One driver from India. Vishwanathan Anand became the first Grandmaster in 1988. Virendra Sehwag, first Indian batsman to score a triple century in Test cricket. Dada Sahab Phalke or Dada Sahab Jahir, first individual athlete from India to win a medal at the Olympics. Kotari Kanakaiya C.K. Naidu, first Indian captain of Indian cricket team in Test matches. Sachin Tendulkar became the first player to score 10,000 runs in ODIs. Now, if we talk about the female, first is Rita Faria Powell, first Indian to wear the Miss World crown in 1966. M. Fatima Bibi became the first female judge to be the part of Supreme Court of India. Sarojini Naidu, first female to become the governor of Free India. Shanu Devi, first Indian politician and member of the Indian National Congress from the state of Punjab. She was the first woman speaker of the State Assembly in India. Razia Sultan, the only female ever to rule the Delhi Sultanate. Kiran Bedi, first woman to join the Indian Police Services. Suchita Kriplani was the first woman chief minister serving as the head of Uttar Pradesh. Raj Kumari Amrita Kaur, first health minister of India. Annie Besant, first woman president of Indian National Congress. Neerja Bhanot became the youngest woman recipient of India's highest peacetime gallantry, the Ashok Chakra Award. Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, first Indian woman ambassador at United Nations. Aarti Saha, first Indian woman to swim across English Channel. Bachindri Pal, Indian mountaineer who in 1984 became the first Indian woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Santosh Yadav, Indian mountaineer, first woman in the world to climb the Mount Everest twice. Sushmita Sen, first Indian woman to become Miss Universe. Asha Purna Devi, first Indian woman to get Jananpath Award. Sania Mirza, first Indian woman to win WTA title. Durba Banerjee, first pilot of Indian Airlines. Kamaljeet Sandhu, first Indian woman athlete to win gold medal at Asian Games. Sarojini Naidu, first Indian woman president of Indian National Congress. Sujanna Arundhati Roy, first Indian woman to win the Booker Prize. M.S. Subbalakshmi, first musician ever to be awarded the Bharat Ratna. Kalpana Chawla, first Indian woman to go into space. On September 19, 2000, weightlifter Karna Maleshwari became the first Indian woman ever to win an Olympic medal, competing in the Sydney International Convention Centre. Now, if we talk about the summary, so we have seen the Indian leaders and officials like Rajendra Prasad, Jawaharlal Nehru, Lord Louis Mountbatten, Chakravarti Rajagopalachari, Kondera Madappa Kareppa, SHFJ Manekshaw, Ganesh Vasudev Malvankar. Then we have seen Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, Vallabhbhai Patel, Sir R.K. Shankumukam Shetty, V.R. Narahari Rao, Shukamar Singh, Justice Dr. Nagendra Singh, Justice Rangnath Mishra. Pioneers in various fields, we have seen the Rakesh Yad Sharma, Satyendra Tagore, Mihir Singh, Rabindranath Tagore, C.V. Raman, Vomesh Chandra Banerjee, Dr. Sayyid Zahur Qasim, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Dr. P. Venugopal. Sports and achievement, K.D. Jadhav, Vishwanathan Anand, Virendra Sehwag, Sachin Tendulkar, C.K. Naidu. Notable events and recognitions, we have seen Agni Tarapur, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Banu Uthaiya. International relations, we have seen Dwight D. Eisenhower, Harold Macmillan. For Indian women, we have seen the Rita Faria Powell, M. Fatima Bibi, Sarojini Naidu, Shanu Devi, Raja Sultana, Kiran Bedi, Suchita Kriplani, Rajkumar V. Amrita Kaur. We have seen Annie Besant, Neerja Bhanot, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Aarti Saha, Bachindri Pal, Santosh Yadav, Sushmita Sen, Asha Purna Devi. We have seen Sania Mirza, Durba Banerjee, Kamaljeet Sandhu, Sujana Antiroy, M.S. Subbalakshmi, Kalpana Chawla, Karnam Maleshwari. Okay. So here we have finished the topic. Kindly revise all the facts and figures that we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.